I know that college isn't for everybody. Uh, there are real issues with education, even before the pandemic. There were real issues of education, of affordability, of access, of level playing field and equity in the admissions process. But the pandemic has raised a whole host of new obstacles to higher education. I think if I were advising kids today, it'd be a very different conversation, very different kind of conversation. I think the traditional way that we have tended to think about college for college-bound students, and not every student is a college-bound student, but for those who want to go to college, there was a model, there was a paradigm, there was an assumed way of doing this. You would graduate from high school, you would head off to a residential college for 4 years. It might be a public institution, it might be a private institution, but there would be a transition from being at home to being away. And once you got away, then you were under a new set of rules. You were learning responsibility, you were learning leadership, you were learning self-control, all those kinds of things. Today, the uncertainty of the pandemic, of COVID-19, raises a whole host of new problems. Affordability is still an issue, but with declining enrollment that colleges are likely to see as a result of the coronavirus, college is only going to get more expensive. It's not going to get any cheaper. And then there's the issue of safety. If I were a parent of a high school senior, I'd be worried about my son or daughter going off to college right now. Part of the whole experience of college is living, in community and dormitories and things like that. It's also very risky these days. And I don't even think colleges know how they're going to serve this population. There may be a whole new set of rules that apply come September. We may be relying heavily on remote learning. That's okay, but it's different. The University of California state system, biggest school system in the country, college system in the country, has already said that they will not have students on campuses. It'll all be done remotely. I think some students will be able to do that, but a lot of students won't. That raises issues of equity. That who's got access to fast internet? Who's got the opportunities to stay at home, to study at home in a quiet environment? Who's got parents at a lower level? Who's got parents who can help them, learn the basic stuff that they need to go to college? It's not a level playing field anymore. The virus has been able to, I think, the virus has been an equal infector opportunity. But the healthcare system has inherent inequalities in it. And I think those somewhat parallel the inherent inequalities in the college admission system and the whole idea of going to college. And I think in some ways has also presented some interesting opportunities. 10 years ago, not many people thought very seriously about going to a community college. I think people tended to look down their nose at that, but think what's happened in the last 10 years. As college tuitions have soared, community colleges provide a very reasonable opportunity and a very solid base of learning in the college experience. Now, in the time of pandemic, they also allow students to have a transitional experience to college. They would go away, or perhaps there would be some remote learning, but they would be away. But then they would be coming home, they wouldn't be residential, and they're in the safety of their own home. I think if I were a parent, that would be a very appealing opportunity for me right now. That to spend a year or two in a community college, maybe a year or two away, we're in a safer environment. There's a vaccine. Everybody feels a little bit better about where we are in this world. And then maybe to spend 2 years at a residential college and get the benefits that accrue from a residential experience. I think there's a real opportunity here for community colleges to step up. The other thing I think has changed in the landscape is that teaching has gotten really good at that level, at the community college level. Facilities are really good at the community college level. Affordability is not nearly the issue it is at that level than it is at a residential college, public or private. I think we have an opportunity in all areas, in all areas of our post-pandemic life. I hope it's a post-pandemic life, to be more creative about how we do things. And this is certainly true about education. I've looked at remote learning, and I think we've learned an incredible amount in the last 2 or 3 months about learning remotely. And I've seen it at the elementary level, at the middle school level, at the secondary school level. And I've seen it now starting at the college level. It's not an easy transition. It's not easy for the faculty. It's not easy for the students. Without the accountability of face-to-face time with your teacher, you may drift away from the process. So that I think it demands a lot of both students and faculty to learn effectively remotely. Think about kids who have special needs. It's going to be hard for them to sit down and focus for hours at a time on a screen when there's not the interaction that usually, the nuance, the context, the social relationships that would normally come in a traditional classroom. But can we overhaul the system? Yeah, we can, but it's going to take a lot of will, and it would probably take a lot of resources, a lot of money to make a new paradigm for higher education, or for education in general. Order can come from chaos, but it's going to require an awful lot of creative thought, an awful lot of resources, an awful lot of willingness to change. Academia has not normally been a very changeable experience. People tend to stay in their tried and true methodologies. This is an opportunity for us to make the whole experience better, no doubt about it. Can we do it? Hope so.